Hello, everyone. I'm Father Alex Sandahar, Rector St. John the Divine Episcopal Church in Sun City Center.
And I am Dave Marshall, rector of All Angels by the Sea, Longboat Key. It's a beautiful day. And Alex, you look like you're in a different office today.
I am on the couch in the living room
Nice.
because my brother's in town, so we're getting ready to go to Busch Gardens because apparently my brother has forgotten that this is Florida in July.
Mm-hmm.
So we
And
are going to go on some of the hottest days of the year, but that's what you do for family, and that's what you do for love. So
that's
we're
what you do
going
for
to
love.
go try to not burst into flames.
Nice. So for Linda in Chula Vista, California, what is Busch Gardens?
Busch Gardens is a wonderful theme park where they have a zoo, they have a botanical garden. It's where Busch beer, so you can get beer there, and the brewery, and they have roller coasters and rides. So it's something for the whole family. And no, this podcast is not sponsored by Busch Gardens.
No, not yet.
Not
Uh,
yet, no.
but we'll see what happens today. Make some contacts there.
Yeah.
And what happened yesterday in Tampa for the first time in 135 years?
Since they started recording temperature, it hit 100 degrees without the heat index, just straight up
Straight
100
up 100.
degrees. Yeah.
Never been 100 before in Tampa. Yeah.
So here we
And
go.
you're heading out into it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, man. Busch Gardens. Well, before we get to today's gospel lesson, and folks, we'd like to thank you for joining us here on A Bridge Between, where Alex and I bridge our knowledge of the gospel and our knowledge of each other and our friendship. We're both dads and we're both priests. And so we're going to look at this lesson today, especially for those who on Sunday are preaching and at this point have no idea what they're preaching on. So they tune in, they listen to us, but many else of you preach with your lives. And so this is where you'll get to hear the gospel lesson coming up for this Sunday, and you'll have a greater understanding of it before you even get to church.
Yep.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And for even smaller, fewer of you, this is your church. So welcome. It's good to have all of you here. Before I get into Luke 12, I have a question for you, Alex.
Shoot.
And it's of something that I know very, very little about. And I know it frustrates you that I don't know anything about DC or Marvel comics and that stuff,
Okay.
right? It's fun.
You're setting me up.
Um,
Go ahead.
so yesterday, I was watching a commercial, which is rare. I try not to. And there apparently is a new Superman out.
Yes,
Um,
there's a brand new Superman movie out. Yeah.
and was this commercial joking? Because I actually didn't have the sound on. It looked as if there was a dog with Superman, and the dog looked like it had a cape.
Yes.
Is this for
So
real?
this is for real. The dog's name is Crypto, as in Krypton. It's very much out of the comics. So James Gunn, who's producing and directing this movie, has decided that he wants to include the dog. Actually, I think it's a really good addition. I've seen the movie.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good. I'm pretty critical of movies, and I liked this one. It was actually pretty good.
Okay.
So I would encourage people to go check it out for themselves. But yes, there is a dog. Yes, he plays a role, and
Okay.
I will not spoil it.
Okay. I'm one of those people that thinks, and we might just jump into a disagreement right in the beginning. I think if there's ever a dog involved in a movie, it's because they have completely either lost the franchise or there's pandering, or I immediately
And
have great
all of
suspicion.
these
And
things can be true.
all right, the difference is Tom Hanks's movie Turner and Hooch. Obviously, Hooch was the star of the show. He
Yeah.
was a dog. I get that, but anyway, it seems strange. Does the dog have super abilities?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it can fly.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I will leave people to watch on their own so that so we can get into the reading from Luke. But
Oh, I have more questions about this. Is it house trained? I mean, does
it
it?
yes, it is house trained.
Okay,
Yes, but like I said, watch it. I think you'll like it. In this summer season when it's blockbuster movie time,
right.
I think you'll enjoy it.
All right. So does it go to like a dog park and has glasses and acts like a normal dog,
No, it
and
is
then
not
something
dog.
goes wrong
It is
and he
not
goes
dog
into a
canon.
phone booth and he spins around?
No, it is not that. It is not.
No. Okay.
That. No. Okay.
All right. Obviously, folks, I have a lot of reading or watching to catch up.
Yeah, yeah. And we're moving on.
And now for something completely different.
Yeah.
Luke chapter 12.
Yeah. So the reason I like this particular text is um, we're living in a time that I think is very volatile when it comes to discussions about money, when it comes to discussions about stewardship.
Okay.
And a text like this can be used by a preacher to, kind of slam one group over the head or slam another group over the head. And so I think as preachers, we have to be careful and always come back to what the text is talking about and who it's directed towards before we make a specific social statement. And there are some social statements that the text allows us to make, let me be clear, but
Okay.
we've got to frame it correctly before we start using the text in a specific direction.
Okay. Wow, you have very much ignited my interest in this lesson. I
Yeah.
bet a lot of people are wondering what in the world is it. It like the one with Martha and Mary is
Mhm.
short. It's not as short as that one, but it's one that we can actually read all the way through. Do you want to read it, or would you like me to?
Go ahead and read it.
All right. So here's Luke chapter 12, verses 13 through 21. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But Jesus said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbiter over you?" And Jesus said to them, "Take care, be on guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said this, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns, I will build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" Jesus then said, "So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God." Here ends the lesson.
There you go. So what do you think he's trying to say there?
Um, that's a really good question. You had some particular thoughts on it. I have some particular thoughts on it, and I go with the sense that this is a bumper crop, that the farmer has gone out and does what a farmer does every year. And what's outside the farmer's control is how much yield there is, because it's based on weather and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so everything went really right for him. And he decided it's time to relax and to party. And there is a different way to behave when you have a bumper crop, and this guy didn't behave that way.
I think that I agree with that, but I think it goes deeper. And the message here, and what I was talking about before about how this message could be used, is
Yeah.
we're living in a time, as I said, of kind of social volatility because we're having questions about inequality. We're having questions
Inequality.
about inequality.
Okay. Okay.
So we're having questions about social inequality, where there are people who are starving, there are people who are living on the street, while at the same time we have people who have enormous amounts of wealth that we actually cannot even conceive of how wealthy they are and the power and influence that they have. And so, because of this inequality, we are asking ourselves, first of all, how is this just? How are we in a society that allows this? And then, what is God's commentary on this inequality? And I think if we are not careful, what we can do is to demonize those who are wealthy instead of asking what are the attitudes that lead to a person being in this mindset of, instead of being generous, instead of sharing. I'm sure that there's some people who are hungry in this man's community, maybe even the farm next door,
Mhm.
but instead they're tearing down their barns and they are what's called hoarding. And here's the part that many people may not want to hear, which is, on some level, even those of us who do not have a lot, we can be tempted to hoard. We could be tempted to not be generous. We can be tempted to do those things. And so that's kind of where I think we need to be careful.
So Jesus said in the beginning, um, one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions.
Right.
And if we carried that as a sign around today out in our society, there were a lot of people who would disagree with that sign. That um, that one's life does consist of the abundance of possessions. That's a message that we're told a lot, right?
Well, I agree, and I think if the best way to look at where our society is just look at the TV commercials, look at all the advertising,
Hmm.
you know, and basically ask what is being sold to me, and what's being sold is not a product.
No.
What's being sold to me is an image,
Hmm.
a feeling, and you and I have talked about this. It's like when you look at a car commercial.
Hmm.
They are not selling me a car. They are selling me safety or speed or Americana, whatever you want to call it. And so if I'm not conscious of that, I'm going to fall into this constant industrial complex of possessing, possessing, and possessing. Coming back to the text, which we always need to do, he thought to himself. He didn't pray about it.
He did
He
not.
didn't ask God about it. He said, let me think to myself about what I think is correct. And we just had a text last week, yesterday, really, in the Our Father, talking about give us this day our daily bread.
Hmm.
But also the point of the Our Father is Jesus teaching people to bend their will to what God wants to give them and
Hmm.
to include God in the conversation. So that's like I said, that's where I think is the heart of this message.
Hmm. So the first part of advertising is to make you feel bad about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you feel bad about yourself, then they can sell you what they need to make you feel better for yourself. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so one of the ways that cars companies sell how safe their car is to show you how unsafe yours is. And that's
Yeah.
anyway, it's this subtle side, this underside of advertising. Um, the people I have met, some have tremendous number of possessions. Well, actually, no, I'll give you an example. And I think I was talking to you on the phone at the time. Um, Coming out to Gulf of Mexico Drive, which is the 10-mile strip of highway that runs up and down Longboat, and you can either turn left or right, so north or south. And heading south was a red Bentley convertible with Wisconsin
Nice.
plates. Okay, it was January, and it was, I don't know, 78 degrees, a light breeze, and I could see his golf clubs sticking out from the back seat. And I drove up next to him to say hello because my windows were down too, and he had a frown and a scowl on his face. He was not having a good day.
Hmm.
And I wanted to say to him, my brother, you're driving a red convertible Bentley. You're from Wisconsin. You have golf clubs in the back. Rejoice. Be merry.
But
Right?
but you see though, do you see what you did there?
What's that? I
You
judged
ass-
him?
no, you assumed that because he had those things, he should have been happy.
I was judging him. And yes, I was thinking, you know, yes, of course. Um, did anybody ever drive a red convertible Bentley and say to themselves, I hope nobody notices me? Anyway, again,
No, I
I
understand.
have a strong J side in my personality. So I'm
We're all
just
judgmental. We're all judgmental, but
right.
the point is that we constantly and consistently look to others and what they're doing for a sense of approval. And we constantly look at the examples that are being given to us about what is accepted, about what is understood to be luxurious. And so as a result, we we fall into the trap of always having to get the next thing. This year it's a red Bentley. Next year it's an Aston Martin. Who knows what it is? But the problem is the belief that we will be happy because of these things. And there's a very dark thing that's happening in our society right now. And I want to give you an example. Have you ever heard of the buy now, pay later trend?
I'm very familiar with that.
You know, so did you know that you can do buy now, pay later with food?
I did not know that.
Right. So you can order a burrito and do buy now, pay later. So you can pay 4 easy installments of 46 cents to get your burrito, or $2 or whatever.
Right.
Um, but it's
So
part of this. Go ahead.
who was the guy on Popeye? I will gladly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's that
I would gladly,
phrase?
I would gladly take a hamburger. I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
So that what you're saying is that that's now reality.
right. And so what's happening though is that this is part of a larger trend where we're living outside of our means
Okay.
to such an extent that we are spending ourselves into deeper and deeper poverty.
Okay.
But I want to switch gears if we can, right? And the question I want to ask to you and to those who are listening is that, is it possible for us as Christians, as we begin to think about having possessions, that we who are not quote unquote rich, is it possible for us to fall into this trap?
Sure. Well, okay. First of all, I'm rich. Um, I because your health is your wealth, right? So um, that, and if you look at any measure at all, that I drove myself here, uh, my wife and I, with the help of the bank, own a house. That
Right.
my
No,
children are healthy.
I
They're
understand.
talking
I
to
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
that it's the rich part is interesting, and for me, Jesus is saying, are you storing up treasures for yourself, and are you rich toward God? And at that moment when I saw the guy in the Bentley, no, I was not being rich toward God.
So the reason I ask is because this is one of the questions I'm going to be exploring in the fall, with our congregation and the local community, which is asking, what is going to be your legacy?
Hmm.
We talk about legacy giving, and that's something else. But we're asking also, not just with possessions, but with our time and our talent, because that's part of what stewardship is as well, not just treasure. And the question is, can I leave a rich and lasting spiritual legacy for those who come after me that will long outlive me, because I was not hoarding my time, because I was not hoarding my effort in helping others and in serving God?
Hmm. Um, that is going to be a very good conversation to have, and another way to look at this, and I wrote about this in my reflection, that the letter to the Colossians is what we're also reading
Hmm.
before we hear the gospel lesson. And Colossians was formed and happened because a guy named Epaphras, he had planted the church in Colossae, which is where the Colossians are, and he was having some difficulty with modern from their day. Modern influences were starting to divide and affect the church, and we can look right at the same issue with rich and poor, and what do you do with your money? Are you rich toward God, and all that type of stuff? That those things were bothering him, and so he traveled 1,200 miles from what is now Western Turkey to Rome to go visit Paul when he's in prison. It took two different boat rides. It took a tremendous amount of time for him to get from Colossae over to Rome. He met with Paul and shared with Paul what was going on and asked him for advice. And as a response, we have this 4 chapter letter to the Colossians.
So do
Um,
you think Paul saw him and said this could have been an email?
yeah, he's like, you could have just called. I don't know why did you travel all the way here.
Carrier
Um,
pigeon, maybe. I'm just thinking 1,200 miles is so far.
Yeah,
Um,
I've actually seen the route. The interesting thing to me, the reason why I bring it up, is you're talking about legacy. Epaphras was trying to deal with his own congregation and societal divisions that were happening within that area, that region. And what we have now is this legacy of this beautiful letter that puts into us the image of God and how we're to live that out, no matter what our society or what divisions are. And that Epaphras had no idea that he was going to build this type of legacy, but clearly by his actions, he was rich toward God. The way that he went out to seek help. And Alex, do clergy often ask for help, or do we try to tough it out ourselves?
Oh, we try to tough it out.
Right, and he is setting this example of how clergy should live and respond with one another. And so when you're talking about all that stuff, Epaphras of course was rich with spirit. He knew how to build and plant a church. He was doing very successfully, and even with that he was rich toward God, because he
So
went out and sought help.
I wanna kind of like use the last part here to talk about that. I think a fear of scarcity, living within a time of scarcity and being afraid about it, and being a rich person who hoards wealth, it comes from the same place:
And what is that source? What's that place?
fear. It comes from a fear and a lack of trust. So the person who knocks down their barns and fills them up and eat, drink, and be merry, it's not just about their ego. That is part of it,
Okay.
right? That's why the Bentley exists, right? But it's also of this outward sign of being able to hold on to things tangibly, to say, I have this. It's not going to be taken from me. It feels safe to hold on to these things. On the other side of it, though, our fear of not having enough food to eat, our fear also comes from a lack of trust in God. Also, though, tied to that, it comes from the reality that as human beings, we do not treat one another with love and respect and dignity, which is why we have such inequality. Um, the reason I say this is because I have walked into homes where this person is not wealthy, but they are hoarding.
Mm.
They hold on to newspapers,
Hmm.
right? They hold on to anything that you can imagine because the stuff has become a part of their life that they can't let go of. And it comes from the same place. It's a fear of letting go of these tangible things and holding on to God, which is not as tangible.
Right. Okay. So the greed, and what was the other one that comes from fear?
Like the fear of scarcity.
Fear of scarcity and greed. Uh, and when you and I were talking earlier, I knew there was a third one, and I suddenly remembered, um, where the third one is anger.
Mm-hmm.
Anger, it's not the true side. The true side is fear, and it manifests itself into anger or into greed or into it. It's this fascinating. Humans are, by the way, just fascinating creatures. This starts the whole gospel lesson with a man interrupting Jesus and said, "Tell my brother to divide the family." He's angry,
Yeah,
but he's not angry. He's fearful.
right. He's fearful. I'm going to get left out. What is
Yeah,
owed to me?
yeah,
Entitlement is the other thing.
right.
This is a very touchy subject, right? Which I think deserved its own episode when we talk about entitlement,
Okay.
because we are constantly believing, I deserve this. I deserve to be in a certain type of home. I deserve to drive a certain type of car. I deserve to wear certain types of clothes. Why? Because I deserve it, right? And this is the debt industrial complex once
Okay.
again. You know, one of the things that I remember distinctly in the 2008 crash, which we had just bought our home before that, was people saying, "Well, I deserve a home this wonderful. I deserve a home this beautiful." And I'm like, "Well, that's a very dangerous way to think, because if we say that we deserve something, then we've removed all humility from it." And
Hmm.
that's why I love preaching on the prayer of humble access, as right when we do not presume to come to this table, O Lord, trusting in our own righteousness.
And the rest of the line?
Oh, I started it, now I
I
can't.
know you started.
We do not
Uh-huh.
presume to come to this thy table, O merciful Lord, trusting in our own righteousness, but in Christ.
Yes, thank you. There was a but there, and I
But
wanted to
in
get to the
Christ, yes.
but we are trusting in Christ. That yes, it is that surrender and that placing everything at the feet of Christ. And so one way to look at that is that this guy came to Jesus and said, "Tell my brother to do that." He's setting at the feet of Jesus. Um, Jesus's response, though, is something that would say, "You're not surrendering this to me. You are
Right.
doing something different with it." Um, and the neat thing is that had this guy not interrupted Jesus and said, "Do this," would we have gotten this parable?
I don't
Right?
know. I don't know, but we do have a lesson here. So for those of you who are preaching, I wouldn't treat this as a stewardship sermon because it's not at the heart. I don't think that's what you need to do, because people may shut their ears, in that way.
Mhm.
I think this is a legacy question. I think you're asking your congregation, what legacy do you want to have? And one of the best tools that you can use in that is to point to all the little plaques in your church. Because Episcopalians, we love plaques, we love stamps in the prayer books. And I love those too, because I can point and say, look at the generosity that somebody did with that. What is your mark that you're going to leave on this church?
Mhm.
And I think greatly about, you talk about Epiphras, I think about all of the wonderful people that I have met who have mentored me, who have left a spiritual legacy with me, that now I get to take some of that spiritual legacy that they've given and multiply it and magnify it and share that knowledge with others so
Mhm.
that they can continue to do that process. So it's the giving that never ends. It's a good
Right.
title. The giving that never
That is a good title. So I have one last question for you.
ends. Hmm.
So it's Sunday morning. You have just preached and read from this gospel lesson, and a parishioner walks up to you after the service and says, "Father Alex, how do I become rich toward God?"
I think the number one way to become rich towards God is to give everything that we are. To say to God, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know where you're going to take me or lead me, but I'm going to put my trust in you. And I say, use me however you want to use me. Reveal it to me. And by giving yourself to God in that way, you will become rich in the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm. Just the question itself, how do I become rich toward God?
Well, because
You're
you
already
can,
being rich toward God. When you ask, how do I?
I mean, because you're not presuming to know.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. You're
Yes.
not, you are submitting so much that you're admitting you don't know. And that's the beginning of wisdom. That's the beginning
It is.
of that. And
Yeah.
so, now if you have been having this conversation with God for a while and God has told you, hey, I really want you to volunteer for this thing, or I really want you to make a gift in this way, and you're asking God, okay, God, should I really do this? I think I'm going to do this. Then that is also building up the riches. But we all got to start in that one place, which is, Lord, how should I give?
Mhm. Yeah. My congregation is blessed with people who have retired successfully, and they are now orienting themselves much deeper towards a sense of God in their life. And I love youth ministry. I was certainly heavily involved in Episcopal schools and camps, but there is something beautiful, gorgeous about this congregation at this time in life of helping them walk towards God, and and that a lot of the richness towards God that I understand is to turn away from judging and to seek and to give forgiveness. That's the first step is to go
Absolutely.
down that path.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, Dave, keep me in prayer that the heat may not overcome me, that the fans and the ice cream may be plentiful as
right.
I venture out into Busch Gardens. But I want to thank you for this time together. I want to thank you for recording with me today. And I want you to know that there's a deep sense of richness that I receive when we talk.
And deep sense of richness when we get to be together and chat. And remember to stay hydrated.
I will.
Uh,
I will. Well, to everybody out there, if you're beating the heat, stay indoors. If you can't, stay hydrated. And we're going to catch you in the next Bridge Between. Thanks.
God bless.